no, I appreciate all the community members that are here today and that are going to listen to this later, because these community meetups are meant to be impactful. So a special thank you to everybody that's making effort and time to commit, not just to themselves and their business, but to the members that are leading the conversation and are taking their time, which is precious and valuable, to share with us some of their insight, their perspective, and just allowing us to listen, learn, and leverage together. So again, thank you to all of you that commit to join these things each week. We do have a new schedule moving forward. So the first 2 weeks of each month, we're going to have a guest. Third week's going to be check-ins. We want to hear how you guys are doing. We want to share wins. We want to collaborate. We want to just kind of recap the successes that you might have gotten from either of these meetups or elsewhere during the month. So I appreciate all of you guys for joining us today. We're going to have a little bit of an introduction round here. We've got a lot of people on, and I want to be considerate of time. So I'm going to introduce myself, and then we'll have the two hosts introduce themselves. And then for the rest of us, just to be able to share and connect, I'd love if you guys could drop your link to your website and your business into the chat as well. And then we'll introduce Scott. So my name is Adam Griggs. I am the co-founder of a startup called CLARAfi. It's a software as a service platform. I'm your moderator today, and I just am so appreciative to seeing all these faces being here, just being here to celebrate and commit Scott and the review machine. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel. If you want to introduce yourself, Rachel.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good to be here with you. I'm Rachel Makool from GoDaddy. I manage community experiences, and part of all of what I do is this great LinkedIn group. So just very appreciative of Scott being here today as a guest and all of the rest of you joining us. It's good to see you and good to meet a couple of you that I haven't met yet. So thanks for being here.
No, we love it. Thank you, Rachel, for your support. Jonathan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Graziano. I'm on the GoDaddy social media team, and I work closely with Rachel on our community development. Again, always excited for these. It's always, I love seeing this volume of people in this meetup today. I've been really looking forward to hearing from Scott for quite some time now. So I'm really glad the day is upon us. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. This is it's great to see how this has grown and the enthusiasm continues throughout all of this. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, to the GoDaddy team for being here to support us. We appreciate you guys and for everything you do. Scott, one of the things we like to do is have community members introduce themselves briefly so you know who is here to support you. We've got a couple of people on here, and if your screen's off, we don't mind. You don't have to chime in if you don't want to, but I'm going to open it up for a quick introduction. We'll start with Patrick if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll let Manny and then Harry.
Yep, Patrick Kagan, PK Solutions Group out here in Chicago. It's cold here too. And I also will be fielding all of the Scott Skolnick difficult questions, so I'm his lookalike today. So thanks, Scott. Looking forward to it.
Very nice. I love it. Manny, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm Manny Larcher, founder of Collaborate and Elevate. And I look forward to this consistent Thursday noon meeting. And yeah, I work with a bunch of entrepreneurs, small business owners. I'm downloading your app right now. So yeah, looking forward to everything. Thank you.
Look at that initiative. I love it, Manny. Thank you for being here to celebrate and support. Harry.
Hello, everyone. Harry Gruber. I'm a director at Sumitomo. It's a Japanese bank, but I have a lot of personal interests that are more independent. So that's what brings me here. So this is sort of after work interest hours, but this is great, you know, especially in the Zoom environment and just the spirit of more independent work. You know, I've done a lot of independent consulting over the years. I'm full-time now, but, you know, after this gig, who knows what's next? So I'm open. Thank you.
And that's one thing we love is hearing people that are looking towards the future, even for Encore Careers and what's next. So thank you for being here, Harry. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Alexander with AJM Financial, helping others plant their money tree.
Scott, man of the hour. Let's hear your story. The review machine himself. You know, tell us a little bit about not just who Scott is, but what led Scott to creating the review machine. We'd love to learn about that.
Well, my background is in the car business. I've been in the car business in a lot of different ways in the past 30 years. Most recently, I had car dealerships in Norfolk and Chesapeake, Virginia. And one of the challenges we had was reviews. And I was very dissatisfied with the systems we were using, and I felt that there had to be a better way. So I came up with what eventually became the review machine for my own dealership originally. And towards the end of 2019, my business partner down there had some other opportunities and really wanted to explore those. And I had the choice to move down there. I live in New York. If I wanted to continue the car business, but I didn't want to leave New York, so we decided to close down the dealership. I still needed something to do, and I thought about this app that I'd started. So I cleaned it up a little bit, added a couple of more features, and I just started selling it pretty much as the pandemic was happening simultaneously. Fortunately, the car business was not negatively impacted by the pandemic at the beginning, and a lot of the government stimulus and so forth was helping that business very much. So I immediately began getting customers from people I knew in the car business, and then slowly I began to expand it out to different businesses and hiring independent salespeople. And thank God, despite the pandemic, we've done pretty well.
That's awesome. I mean, one of the things that we love hearing is when people have a transition of thought, especially when you're in an environment where you're in like car sales, right? You've got this environment where people might see things in a negative light, or there may be that taboo, and you were looking at ways to not just improve your own outcome inside of that, in that realm, but to improve the overall communication, right? And you came up with an idea to launch an app, and you did it in the midst of not just adversity in your industry, but in the midst of adversity of a pandemic. And you're right. I mean, the industry itself obviously is done okay, but at the end of the day, meaningful relationships matter too. So I love the way that you've built everything you've built with the review machine. So tell us a little bit about why and how people need to have an online persona, first of all, and why reviews matter to them in any industry.
Well, whether they like it or not, every business's voice is their customers, whether they like it or not, because there are just so many review platforms out there. Google, of course, being the backbone in my view, because everybody's going to see your Google reviews if they want directions, if they want some type of information. Even if they Google your competition, your reviews sometimes come up. So whether you like it or not, people are going to see your reviews. So the idea of reviews is not always fair, because the dissatisfied customer is much more likely to tell a lot of people than the satisfied one. The satisfied one walks out the door, oh my God, I forgot to buy dog food, and moves on with their life. The dissatisfied one drives home at 90 miles an hour to get behind that computer, or even on their phone now, to trash the place. So, my platform is to, level that playing field, to make it simple for the satisfied customer to leave a review.
I mean, simplicity is powerful, right? Number one, and capturing a satisfied customer in the moment, in the moments that matter, is powerful, because you're right. So many of us are operating through this world of transparency because we're connected to social media and all these other platforms at the touch of our fingers. And when you're angry, you want to vent, right? And it's very easy. It's very easy to throw that out online, and it's not so easy to claw that back.
Yeah, and it's instant gratification. You hurt me, now I get to hurt you. And a lot of people who are inclined to do that don't just do it themselves. They bring in their friends, their family. They'll, create 3 or 4 Google accounts to trash the place. I mean, we see that kind of stuff all the time with a dissatisfied customer. And my app also gives a way for the dissatisfied customer to communicate with the business rather than simply trashing it online. to try and work out their differences in a productive way where everyone's satisfied. The owner of the company is not always the culprit in the dissatisfaction. You know, a lot of times it's an employee who is maybe having a bad day or just not a great employee. And this way the owner gets to hear about that before they read about it online. You know, who is this dissatisfied customer? They have no idea about.
Yeah, I mean, that's not only just important to know who you're dealing with, right, but having the availability for communication. And I think it goes both ways. It's not just the negative. Sometimes it really is like what Michelle says, sometimes it really is
Sure.
the customer. And one of the things that I've noticed is people that don't have that engagement or that experience, if they're leaving a review and they didn't really feel an experience, even if the product met their needs, even if everything checked the boxes, if there was nothing really that made them feel warm and fuzzy, they're going to leave a 3-star review, and that's not good for anybody, right?
The review game is a 1-star, 5-star thing for the most part. And look, even if it is the customer, it doesn't really matter because it's going to be published against the business, you know, and future customers are not going to say, well, maybe this customer was wrong. They're going to, you know, there's a high degree of believability and trust in online reviews that they carry almost the same weight as any word of mouth. There's been all kinds of studies, you know, on this subject, and you know, 90% of people check reviews. Under 40, it's close to 100%.
Yeah, no, I check reviews. I can be honest with you there.
Sure.
And one of the things that you touched on there's a couple of things, you know, honestly, there's power in communication, right? It gives you control. It gives you control to have a conversation that might shift how that review is going to play out and maybe get you to the level of performance or review you want online. But on the other side of things, you said people really trust reviews, and it's one of those things that are put out there. What about people who buy reviews? I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the federal government is cracking down on that, number one. And number two, this is something that I've really discouraged. And I mean, for one thing, even though I work for businesses now, I'm still a consumer, ultimately, of everything else. So I don't want to have to rely on reviews that may be bought. So I'm very, very supportive of crackdowns on fake reviews and purchased reviews and so forth. And, you know, I support Google's efforts in cracking down on that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things you can definitely tell in the world today, you know, when somebody is leaving a review or a remark and you can check their profile and there's only one and it's an angry one, you know that either that person was very disgruntled against that particular individual and company, or it's not real, right? It's either, you know, a paid establishment that's going against them, or vice versa. When you have paid reviews that are showing up in a 24-hour period and there's hundreds at a time, or even dozens at a time that had never been there before, it makes you really start to think. And I think as long as you're having conversation and you're building community, which you've got on your app, and it allows people to consistently add reviews over time, you're building that level of trust, and you're building that environment that shows, yes, these are valid conversations. Yes, these are valid customers. And yes, these are valid reviews. And for the small business owner, it's so hard to compete against the big players with so much money in their pockets that I love the fact that they are cracking down on purchased reviews, because there's too many ways that we're already being stomped on as small business. So anything that gives us a leg up is a win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a source of equality, reviews. The big business can spend however much they want on advertising, but ultimately the customer is still going to check reviews. No matter how much you spend on advertising, the last thing they're going to check are the reviews. So it gives you know, a more of a level playing field between the big business and the small business, that you know, maybe we're doing a better job, that people see a consistent flow of 5-star reviews and satisfied customers that actually mention people's name, be it the owner or a salesperson or somebody that helped them to you know, through what, you know, again, my default is always the car business. So it's, for a lot of people, that's a high pressure situation, auto sales. And for somebody to be made to feel comfortable with somebody looking at their credit, and maybe they were turned down at a few other places, and finally, they got approved and they were able to get a car, the basic things in life, to go to work and support their family. It's a very big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal when you're making a transaction in most cases, because most people buy emotionally and then defend it, logically, right? We make purchases in the moment, and quite often, especially lately, it's an economic purchase that we really want to understand and we really want to buy into. And one of the things that I love that you've done is the way you're leading through the community with just contributions, stories, and allowing people to see how and why reviews matter, why online personas matter, why responding to clients and customers matters. Because at the end of the day, you're building a community. And if you've got some availability to create stories, right, inside of your reviews, and this is my own personal opinion, when I see people that have posted stories about their engagement with how they've done either building their business with you, Scott, or with the team over at GoDaddy, or Patrick's company, right, at PK Solutions, when you have people giving these reviews and they can actually, like you said, tangibly note not just their names, but the experience they had in a story format, there's so much power there. I mean, to me, that's a reason I'll do business with somebody, if I can already trace a timeline between people I know with real stories.
Yeah, and it gives people the expectation walking into a place that their experience is going to be similar to the ones that they've read about, especially if there's a long pattern of good reviews, good stories, good outcomes. That they could confidently walk in a place and not feel like, hey, I have to be on edge here. That, I'm going to be the one who's robbed. I'm going to be the, again, I talk about the car business. I've been to seminars, never advertise 99% approved, because everyone on earth is going to think they're in the 1%. That's not going to be approved. Always say, everybody approved in advertising and so forth. And you want people to feel that it is 100% experience, that they're going to, feel the comfort and get the good result that they just read about from someone else from a couple of days ago. That's very important, that these reviews remain fresh in order to instill that confidence in the consumer.
Yeah. When I see something that was, 2 years old and there's been nothing since then, you wonder if the company
is this place still in business?
Yeah.
How is it that nobody's reviewing them in this environment? And that's, part of the things I emphasize to the sales staff. They may have a 5.0 rating, but, they've got 7 reviews in 3 years. Why is that? They have more than 7 customers in 3 years.
Yeah. So there's the next question right there for the community members, right? How do you take a client or a customer and disarmingly get them to offer a review, a favorable review?
Do you want me to answer how we suggest they do it, or you want
Absolutely.
Oh,
Is there a timeline? Is there a methodology?
There is a timeline, and there is a system to do it, a systematic way to do it, and that's at the end of the transaction. We simply have the staff of the business ask, if I send you a text message, would you mind leaving us a quick review? Looking them in the eye, and they say yes, and it's done right then and there. It's not done a week later, or some type of ambush situation where they're going to say, what is this? They just agreed to do it, and you do it right then and there. You know that they're happy, you know that they're satisfied, you know that if they're not satisfied, the whole situation is soon enough that they may talk about it rather than try and exact some type of revenge.
One of the things that kind of comes to my mind with the thought of getting clients to give you a review, do you have different audiences, right? With our companies and our communities, some of our relationships are a little bit more deep and more meaningful, especially with returning clients, where you might be able to have a more in-depth review. And then maybe there's those that are just first-time clients and customers you don't want to spook off. And is there a way to give them a very easy, simplified way to just leave a review without any effort?
Well, my app, again, I didn't want to go into a sales pitch, but my app is designed to do exactly that, to hand it to them on a silver platter, to make it simple and just a couple of clicks on their phone and boom, they left the review. We have, like I could think in particular of an optometrist that I have in New Jersey that uses it, that canceled all his other advertising because all his patients come in because of reviews, and all of his reviews are almost identical. I've been a patient for 20 years. I've been a patient for 30 years. My whole family are patients. But, you look at, despite all those opportunities in the past, they didn't once think, hey, let me leave this guy a review, until we handed it to them on a silver platter. We made it simple. So it doesn't matter if they're lifelong customers, repeat customers, or if they just happen to stumble upon you today. The process is really the same. And you want to also make the point that we treat everybody the same, right? Whether they've been coming 30 years or whether they came in today. We want to turn you into the next repeat customer.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's valuable. So, and I appreciate you for that. One of the things that we love to do in these conversations is I like opening it up for comments and kudos. And I think we're at a point now where we've kind of heard the value in reviews and some of the ways that you can capture it. And you've got a great, and not just, like I said, contribution to the community, where you're talking about tangible ways where we can like utilize the client's own voice, right? And really embrace them and build a brand recognition or brand ambassadors. But I'd love to hear from our community members that are here today. How many of you utilize reviews? How many of you utilize reviews, and what have you seen out there? So can we open it up? Does anybody? Oh, Rachel.
I use reviews all the time. And and one thing I was going to put it in the chat, and then I just thought I'd talk to it when we got to the talking section. One of the things I think you have to really do is balance the reviews when you're looking at them. So for instance, like I look at 1-star reviews, and I do it more because I think so often they're really kind of off base. But I use them so much for when I'm traveling, definitely for restaurants. And because I'm pretty particular about where I eat, and I want to make sure that if I'm going to have a meal somewhere, that it's a really good meal and other people recommend it. But also for, other types of businesses. And Scott, one thing that you just mentioned that I thought was really important and valuable is for business owners, regardless of what type of business you run, to ask your clients, even if you've had them for 20 years, to drop a review for you. Because one of the things that I find, especially in the medical world, is that I'll look up people and there'll be maybe 5 reviews. And to me, that's not enough for me to decide whether or not it's somebody that maybe I'd like to work with. But if there were 50 reviews from people who have said, like, I've been with this person for 10 years or 15 years or whatever, that would give me a lot of trust that this person is, somebody that I'd like to contact and really, potentially work with. So, but I also, the other thing that I have noticed is business owners who do not respond to bad reviews. And I think that, and so I see that, and it just makes me cringe, because it's like they have the opportunity to respond in a tactful manner. And then I see the flip, where I see people who respond and thank every time, which I think is really wonderful. And I wish more people would do that.
Well, I emphasize that to my customers, that they definitely should engage and thank every good review, and try to reconcile with whoever's giving a bad review and turn that into a good review. But there is also a bit of a technology deficit too for some people. They're not just ignoring the reviews. Like when you see them and you say, oh, well, I don't like it when they don't respond. A lot of people just don't know about Google My Business and things like that. That, to me, is the bigger problem than them just saying, oh, I don't care or anything like that. I find that most business owners really do care, and they do get very emotional about negative reviews.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I was just gonna add in on that. I see that a lot, where people just don't know, have no idea the benefits. And I I'm someone that I benefit from a owner of a business, but I benefit as a consumer because I have over 1 million views on my reviews. So like Google now sends me different rewards, and like the algorithm kind of rewards me even more now in a weird way, just because I'm active on it as a consumer and a business owner. So yeah, very helpful.
Yeah, I've got to agree with what both of you said. Obviously, when you gamify things like what Manny's saying, it makes the consumer more apt to want to respond, especially when it's simple to offer reviews. Google's done a great thing where it's just very easy to review people. But again, owners in that technology gap, you're right, Scott, they just don't have the capability these days to really understand which platform matters, which one am I supposed to engage with, how do I respond, how do I respond properly? You know, am I responding directly to them or am I responding to the masses? And Rachel, just like you, I look at 1-star reviews too, because quite often the 1-star reviews they're angry because something shipped and it got broken. It has nothing to do with the original client, right? Or customer that you're part of, you know, and I think that that's valuable because you can see that and you can weigh your own options. And another thing that honestly, and I want you to touch on the technology, Scott, on giving people the ability to kind of bridge that gap. But one of the things that I've seen personally, being a hobby farmer, I started following specific communities based on those people's reviews. And I will purchase from people they recommend because I followed their reviews and they're so consistent. And they're talking about things like strength of the product or the length of time it's going to operate. And then they offer a little bit of tangible knowledge with it, like why and how it works. And for me, that's powerful. And these are brand ambassadors, right? They're not selling it. They're just putting it out there. Or maybe they are, and I don't know, and they're getting paid. It doesn't matter. It works. But I love communities, and I think that that's a valuable place to be. So I'd love for you to kind of touch on how people are able to bridge that technology deficit. And then I think Patrick's got something he wants to chime in on.
I mean, just to get back to what you said, the very first thing I said here today was that the customer is the voice of your business, whether you like it or not. And whether they're a paid brand ambassador that you're not sure about, or they're just somebody who walked in the store today because they needed whatever, you know, these are the people who are going to be the voice of your business ultimately. So you have to have a mentality, and this is something that I emphasize to my customers, and that they have to transmit to the employees that everybody walking in the door is potentially reviewing them now. You know, because you're using my system, and that's the way it should work. Everybody walking in the door should have the opportunity to review it, to review the business, and that changes the thoughts of the employees, because now they know they are potentially the star of the 1-star review, and they don't want to be in that position. And as long as we're talking about employees, one other point that I wanted to make is that, you know, we're living in a time now where there's a lot of competition for employees. Every place has a help wanted sign. And one of the factors that employees are deciding where to work is reviews. If I'm a commission salesperson, you better believe I'm going to check the reviews of the business to make sure that I'm going to have a steady stream of customers so I can make a living. So this is another thing to consider, that your reviews are going to have be impactful in your ability to hire people.
Yeah, that's powerful. I would have never thought the labor shortage issue and the talent shortage would have been relevant to reviews, but you're right. I mean, it's validating the strength of that operation of that business, and I think that's powerful. Yeah, thank you for that, Patrick.
It's something for every business owner to consider, that, you know, this is not just a one-sided thing, that you and consumers, it's also you and employees.
Yeah, Patrick, did you have something?
Yeah, Scott, I think this is phenomenal. And I mean, we live in an age where everything speaks. And I see your app as something that could be a differentiator. And when everything speaks and you have no control over 90% of what's speaking about you, this is the one thing that you actually can have a little bit of control on. That being said, I have to apologize. I didn't get to in advance even take a look at your app, but I wanted to attend because I wanted to hear about it. I mean, I'm a one-man show, so I have to go sell and collect and do all the things
Sure.
you're talking about right now. I don't know, is this just a typical app? You go to the app store, you download it as a consumer, and then you fill out like a
No, the consumer doesn't download the app. The business downloads the app. It is on all the app stores, just so everybody knows that it's not full of malware or whatever. So it is on all the app stores, but it's not something for consumers. Consumers have downloaded it by accident, and actually I got a bad review on the app store that said this is the worst game I've ever seen. So
I would download it when I put it on my website. Is that how folks would interact with it, or how does
say
that
it again?
work?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
My question is, the business owner, would I download that? Would I put that on my website for folks to then do their reviews? Or
it's the business owner downloads the app. Either the business owner or the employees would use it to send text or email messages to their customers requesting reviews.
I think it's a differentiator. I think it's a really powerful way in a world, like I said, where everything speaks and competition is at all-time high, and we don't get that FaceTime. This is a great value add that sets you apart and sets you up for future business. So I can't wait to take a look at this.
Well, I'd be happy if you want. Just contact me. I'll show you the demo.
Perfect.
Yeah, it looks like Jonathan's got to drop. Thanks, Jonathan, for being with us today. I appreciate you. That was a great question, Patrick, because so many of us on this call are business owners, right? And we want to know how and why this is going to work for us. And that's kind of what we touched on, was how do we overcome that technological gap? And I got to tell you, my doctor does this. She sends a text after we're done, and she'll wait until the end of the day. It's always the same day, so I don't feel like you said earlier, Scott, that I'm being like picked or like crusaded or anything, right? If it's after, but it's in the same day, the same relevant period, you're not being berated. And she sends this text, and it's just her smiling and says, "Hey, thanks for coming by today. I really care about you. I appreciated our visit. Would you mind giving me a review? You know, tell everybody that you think that I'm great." And it's real straightforward. And when you click the link, it goes really in depth, which for me, the initial text was great. The in-depth review, not so great.
I listen, I agree. And I don't think, and I've seen those type of systems out there, and I've been in situations where potential customers have used it, and I said, look, there's a difference between asking someone for a review and giving them a homework assignment, and that's what you're getting, is a homework assignment.
Yeah, and if we had more of a meaningful relationship, if we were engaged often, I might be down to do something like that. But if it's like I'm seeing the doctor once a year, as a consumer, like I did the review because I really believe in it, and I do like what my doctor offers. But I could see where 90% of people would just like, nope, close, and if it's not simple, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're a patient. You don't need to be the office manager as well.
Yeah.
And that's really what they're asking too much. I mean, I've seen recently a body shop that one of my salespeople was trying to work with to get them to sign up for the review machine, and they were using a system like that. And I said, somebody that just got a dent taken out of their car, they're not going to do this post-mortem of the business. If you want to review and all that stuff, none of it is public until the last part of it, where it finally takes you to a review site. So it's valuable information for the business perhaps, but for the consumer, that they just want to get on with their day.
Yeah, nope, I think that's valuable. Michelle, did you have some?
I'm sorry, I was just to make one further point. That would make me less likely to go back to a place if I knew I was going to get that.
Yeah, and it's intimidating. That's a valid point, and that's one of the things that I think consumers look at too: the interaction before and after. If your interaction is overwhelming afterwards, that's the last thing they're going to remember. That's good. I like that, Michelle.
In line with what Patrick was saying, I like those questions and what he said. Where do the reviews show up if you use this app? Because, you know, with Google, you know, it's Google and you have the Google reviews. And if you're not downloading this on your website, where do people see those reviews, you know, when they input those reviews?
The business owner has a choice of where, of which review platforms they're sending to their customers. Each business subscriber gets 4. So it may be, Google is always the backbone, so almost 100% use Google. You know, for car dealers, it may be Car Gurus if the customer came from there, cars.com, DealerRater, WebMD, Health Grades. There's all you know, Yelp, of course, Facebook. So there's hundreds of sites, but each customer gets 4. We recommend that they only send out 1 at a time, again, because we don't want to give the customer a homework assignment. There becomes a point where it just becomes overwhelming and the return is not there.
Okay, that's awesome. That really does answer the question. Thank you. And a great presentation. Love hearing this information.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that we could probably go forever, but I want to be considerate of everybody's time. And you've already given us so much just tangible and capable information, not just in the community with your posts, but things that we can put into place and implement today in the meetings. So Scott, thank you for that. And thank you just for giving us the background of your story and why you created the app, because it's important for us to know where the passion came from. Creating community and conversation around your brand is so impactful and important. And that's really what we're all about. So I have to appreciate you for that and for being with us today and, you know, sharing, like I said, your story and your world.
Well, I'm very grateful to you and to CLARAfi and to GoDaddy and to the whole team for inviting me. I mean, I love talking about this, obviously, and to be able to do it in this type of forum is fantastic. And I'm very grateful to all of you for putting this together.
Now, you're doing us a great service by leading conversations that really have an ability to empower and impact these small businesses. So keep doing that. Scott, one of the things we like to do before we close it out, I want to make sure that if people want to engage with you, connect with you, and just leverage a little bit more of the relationship, where can we send people that's going to be most impactful for them and for you to connect and to follow up with you?
Well, you could find me on LinkedIn, of course. You could send me an email to scott@thereviewmachine.com. You can go to thereviewmachine.com. We have a contact form there. So I'm pretty easy to find if people have questions. I'm very happy to answer, happy to help, and do everything I can. If you have challenges around reputation management.
I love that. Thank you for putting not just yourself out there, but your reputation, right? Because this is part of the review process. So
sure, of course.
Yeah, and for all of the community members that were here today and those that have joined us in the call, thank you so much for just being here to support Scott. Make sure that if you're not a member of the GoDaddy small business community, you guys join, because you're going to see a lot of great contributions from Scott and from some of the community members here today that'll help you impact and empower. So I love these conversations. I love these weekly meetups, and I appreciate each and every one of you for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everybody.
Have a good day, you guys.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.